Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it.
The attachment styles are basically, there's 4, and this is universal all over the world. The basically handbook Bible is this book called Attached by Amir Levine. It goes into almost all the attachment styles. So we have securely attached, and that is about the statistics have changed, but it's about 55% of the population are securely attached. What that really means is that I am comfortable with being close with somebody and also being independent with them. I don't worry if the person that I'm in a relationship with, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, is going to leave me, or if I'm worthy of love, or if I'm good enough. You know, I'm generally well dispositioned in the fact that I believe that I, want to love, and they do love me, and I feel secure in that. I'm not worried about the other shoe dropping at any moment, and I feel generally securely attached to people.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Esin Pinarli, holistic psychotherapist. And Esin and I are going to be talking on the topic attachment wounds and their impact on mental health. Yeah, we have attachment wounds from our parents.
Mm-hmm.
You have attachment wounds from, the people that we got into contact with as we grow older. So yeah, this is a great topic. And I'm glad we're going to be exploring this conversation as it relates to our mental health. So welcome,
Absolutely.
Esin.
Thank you so much. Nice to be on the show. I'm very excited and very passionate about attachment wounds because it's the driver for almost, we are wired for connection in terms of we are human social beings, and we have and you said something really great. You said attachment wounds that happen younger and, midlife, older life. Anything that happened in relationship, right? In a relationship, a primary caregiver, a friend, a romantic partner. A lot of people always kind of relate these attachment wounds back to it's just in childhood, and it's not. It goes throughout your whole life.
Oh, I know. As women, men hurt us as much as our parents.
Absolutely. And so people are like, oh, that's coming from, the inner child, which is a big topic, right? Like we all have younger parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We develop, right? We become like, you're like a boss, right? And you have this successful podcast, and you're this self-actualized woman, and you developed all these other parts of you. But just like you and me, we have this little girl inside of us. And for men, they have these little boys, these younger parts inside of us that at some point in time were either betrayed or hurt or misattuned. Somebody was misattuned to them. They weren't seen. They weren't heard in that relationship. They might have gotten terrorized. They may have been left, abandoned. Yeah. There was a breach of trust, right? And that creates a relational injury.
Right.
And so men hurt women and women hurt men. If women are in a relationship with women hurt women, and women hurt, friends, romantic partners. But we are very much social beings, and these things leave imprints.
Yes, that's great. I have a good information on that one when we get to that. But so let me go ahead and formally introduce Esin to you. Esin is a psychotherapist, licensed clinical social worker, and a mastered certified addiction professional, specializing in IMAGO, Brainspotting, internal family systems, psychodrama, and through an integrated psychotherapeutic approach, she also helps individuals, couples, and families suffering from anxiety, depression, addiction, codependency, trauma, dysfunctional family system dynamics, and attachment issues to navigate life challenges so they can become fully alive, supported, and whole. So yes, as you know, Esin started off by explaining, you know, which is our conversation today, attachment wounds and mental health and all that. But before we get into the attachment wounds, I wanted to set the table by understanding a couple of the therapies that
Sure.
that Esin works with, which is the IMAGO therapy and this brain spotting. Can you explain what these therapies do and how do they really address the root of our traumas or attachment wounds?
Yeah, absolutely. It's Essen. I know it's hard. And it's okay. I mean, I'm always get everybody's names wrong, like constantly. My name is like the hardest. But these modalities. So it most people, I think, when they think about therapy or healing or becoming a better version of themselves, they want to, fix. I don't even call it fix, heal, feel better, and address attachment wounds. People think of traditional talk therapy or talking to somebody, even our friends. We can talk to people and we can uh try to work something out and try to have a healing experience, right? If I had a friend that I had a very bad dynamic with where they hurt me, and I am now very cautious in entering friendships, and so I'm hesitant and I'm guarded. If I have an experience with a new person, I'm now storing a new experience into my body that I can be safe with another woman in a friendship, even though I was hurt before. So I got drawn into more than talk therapy. I did talk therapy myself. I originally started with like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, which are just ways of talk therapy where you process something with somebody. I moved into the realm of what you are asking about, which is IMAGO and brain spotting, because I realized that in order to move the needle or really help people, because I got the most help from it myself when I was going through my own struggles, I started to train in all of these other modalities that I felt like were really beneficial. And so IMAGO, I use it a lot with couples. I use it with individuals. I use it with families. It actually stands for, in Latin, the image of unconscious love. So it basically is our below conscious awareness, what we think love is supposed to look like in a friendship, in a romantic relationship, love with a colleague, love with a parent. And so we have this template or this sort of paradigm that gets imprinted into us of what we think it's supposed to look like. And the first people that model it for us are our mother and our father. And so we watch that dynamic and how do we connect with them? And so what Imago does is it's a way of, it's very attachment based. And so the root of it is that if we get wounded in relationships, we can heal in relationships.
Mm.
So therefore, if I have a couple coming in and I'm using Imago, and I do a lot of couples intensives where I work with them, it's a dialogical process, which means I use dialogue to help two people get into each other's emotional worlds and understand what's triggering you, what's activating you, what is the core scene, what's the pattern that keeps coming up that creates conflict for you. And so the idea is that it's deeply relational, it's deeply dialogical, meaning dialogue based, and it allows for a healing, precious, sacred space of relating. And so what's beautiful about relationships is that they bring up the stuff that needs to be healed. You will never get more activated, anybody, human beings, than you do in a romantic relationship. I say it's a battleground on some level.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can feel deeply loved and seen and validated and heard and fulfilled, and also feel deeply wounded and hurt and unseen. And so Imago is this ability, the modality is based on really kind of listening empathetically, compassionately, and witnessing the other person. So you're giving them a different experience than they got. So let's say I have a childhood wound of feeling abandoned. And abandoned doesn't mean my dad left me and my family when I was a young girl and just took off. I could be emotionally abandoned. He could be watching TV and ignoring me, or silent treatment, or I didn't get enough attention, or if I was upset about something that happened in my life, I wasn't getting this attunement, right? There wasn't enough, it wasn't consistent. It was like sometimes they were there and sometimes they weren't there. So my body became sort of like hyper vigilant as to when's the next time I'm going to get attention. When is the next time that I'm going to be heard or seen or validated? And then on top of that, if I expressed my true feelings and it was met with rejection, disapproval, go to your room, they didn't acknowledge what I was feeling, and I was left, then I am going to choose attachment over authenticity every single day because I need them to survive. I need them emotionally, the parents, whoever your primary caregivers are, I need them emotionally and I need them in physical proximity to me. And so if I don't have that, I'm learning, oh, I better not talk like that. I better not share. I better not get upset. I better not yell. I better not scream, or I get rejected. I get misattuned, right? They're not listening to me. So then I'm going to change. I'm going to repress that part of myself. I'm going to push that part down, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to please them because I need them to stay in connection. And unfortunately, that carries on through our adult life. And IMAGO says that basically romantic relationships are attempts to finish and complete our childhood in the way that we really wanted it to. So we're in some way subconsciously casting this person into a role in order to heal or to receive something that we never received before. And then all of a sudden they don't even know that they're cast into this role, and then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then they trigger or activate us. But the trigger and activation is good in IMAGO because it shows the part that was emotionally abandoned, the part that didn't get what it needed, an unmet need, right? An unmet need. There was some need that didn't get met and your partner's hitting it. Wonderful. Let's get to it. Let's hear your partner's world. When you are on your phone when you get back from work, I feel ignored and dismissed, just like I did in childhood when my dad would ignore me. And then the partner can now have more empathy and say, oh my God, that's not what I meant to do. I was just so busy with work or whatever. And that's the last thing I would want you to feel. Yeah. But what really happened there is that person got activated, but now we can introduce some compassion and we slow everything down, because I get a very high conflict couples, right? If they would just do A, B, and C, we'd be fine. They keep doing this, and I'm like, but that wound existed inside of you. They're just bringing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really interesting because I'm reading this book right now from a monk, a French monk called Thich Nhat Hanh.
I love Thich Nhat. I love
exactly. I'm always saying his name wrong. But yeah, so he was talking about the wounded inner child.
Yes.
And also talking about one of the best things that you can give your partner is your presence, deep listening, and it's really interesting because my husband would always say to me, you're not listening. And I says, I'm listening very well. I listen very deeply. I hear everything you're saying, but that is his favorite thing to do. So now I'm aware that he wants me to listen, right?
Yeah.
So,
and where does that come from? Where does that come from?
What was that? And I'm actually, even this morning, I'm sitting down and I'm listening, even though normally I would cut him off and says, get to the point. Because he goes around in a circle and he's got ADD and he says, I said, stick to the point. Let's get to the point. You know what I mean? But I'm aware that what you're just saying, listening, and obviously we're coming from whatever he's needing me to do. And it's always listening, but I bet to get to the point.
Yeah. But I bet you if you got down to the root of it, right? Like if I had the two of you in there, there was somewhere where he didn't feel heard.
Right.
There was somewhere where he was overlooked, or he wasn't heard or valued or considered, right? So his inner child, it is
because he's always saying, you're not listening to me. You read all these books and pick what they're saying over me. I says, yes, because they're a doctor.
Oh, you're like, but I love you and I want to listen to you. And you made a great point, though. Your presence as a partner is the best gift, attuning to him. And even me as a therapist, the best gift that I can give my clients is complete presence and being with them, because there's something so deeply healing about just being present. But we have so many things going on, right? And I want to read that book, and it's like you're going in circles.
Imagine waking up every morning feeling more calm, relaxed, and ready to seize the day. With Muse, you get responsive sleep experiences that help you shut off your busy mind and guide you into a deep, restful sleep. A recent study by Cambridge and other leading research institutions found that Muse's EEG sleep technology improved sleep quality by 20%. The Muse Athena S combines EEG plus fNIRS technology to measure brain activity, track brain blood flow, and optimize sleep for peak performance. Muse was designed to help meditators achieve deeper levels of focus and clarity, both during their practice sessions and in every other part of their lives as well. 72% of users reported better focus and clarity since starting their Muse mindfulness journey. Grab a Muse today and see how much you can achieve when you're living a more focused and present life. Head over to Muse and enjoy 15% off your order with discount code TRANSFORM. That's choosemuse.com/transform. The website again is CHOOSEMUSE.com/transform.
Listen, what I do here is how I am. I love conversations. I listen very deeply. It came from my coaching training, but I like to give input. It's just like I'm talking to you now on the show, and he doesn't want me to talk. He wants me to just listen, and I have to learn to do that, But anyway, so what we're starting off with, that is pretty good. You've mentioned something that our inner child is like according to Thich Nhat Hanh, it's fearful, and the child wants to survive.
Yes.
And we need to talk to that child and says, I hear you, I'm here for you. And yeah, but so you're right. A lot of people don't know that they can heal that inner wound themselves, but they look for attachment to do it. And that's basically what Thich Nhat Hanh was saying, is that a lot of people marry someone to take care of them because
Yes.
we wanted our parents to take care of us when we were young and to survive. And we marry people. So you're correct. We keep on going in this direction where we're needing other people to, using a word from the movies, complete us or whatever. And
Yes.
and you're right. They normally come into this role and they don't know what we're asking them to do. So that is great. I love that. I mean, I've heard of the word IMAGO, but I never understood what it meant until now. So that is pretty good. And quickly, because that was a detailed answer. What exactly is brain spotting? How is that different?
So Brainspotting is a completely different modality. So it's actually it's called natural flow EMDR. So there's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which is in nerd speak, well, no, not so EFT is tapping. Emotion. This is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It basically says where you look determines how you feel, and if you eye movement back and forth creates access to different parts of the subcortical part of your brain, which gives you access to memories and feelings so that you can reprocess old wounds that are still creating an emotional charge in your body. And so it's a way of, and it's natural flow EMDR. So I'll do it with a lot of trauma clients who can't get unstuck through traditional talk therapy. And so what the brain spotting does is I'll have a pointer. It's a dance between me and the client. It's connection. It's attunement. I do a lot of what's called resourcing, which is I give them bilateral music, and bilateral music is basically specifically designed to go between the right and left hemispheres of our brain to create more brain synchronization so that we can feel more relaxed and calmer, so that when we bring up an activating event, there's already regulation in the nervous system. I'm there. I'm a compassionate, empathic witness. I'm present. And I'm basically using a pointer back and forth as we bring up an activating event, something that continues to trigger you or awaken something in you. And we basically are doing what's called memory reconsolidation. We are taking the wounded, activated part and bringing it up in a safe setting with somebody present using eye movement. I find a brain spot and they find the brain spot. It's where they are the most activated when we start to discuss a topic. And the interesting thing is I always start with low-hanging fruit, as I call it. I don't want to go to a very big trauma and get so activated because I want to titrate. So, but what's interesting is your brain connects one thing to another, to another, to another. So what you're nervous about or you're activated about is actually connected to something else. Like it could be like your fear of being seen, right? And so you're nervous about a speech that you have to give. That ends up connecting all the way back to something because the bilateral music and the eye movement is being utilized. And all of a sudden, the stuff that comes out, and I use prompts, right? So the way you're trained is that there's certain prompts. I'm like, see where that goes. Just see what comes up and out of that. So between the music and the dance, between me and them, and me being present with them, and us locating a brain spot, the stuff that comes out from their subconscious, because what we think we know about ourselves and why we do what we do is only 3 to 6%. That's our conscious awareness. The rest is below conscious awareness. And so that's what Brainspotting allows more subcortical processing.
Big traumas, but they're not aware of little traumas. Like, the one that you just mentioned, your father says, like in the book, the guy was talking about a situation where he wanted people to reconcile with their parents. And this one particular guy couldn't even write a letter to his dad because his dad traumatized him. And he would say some things as simple as maybe what you said. The father said, "Go to your room." You know what I mean? And you're right. You're not seen, you're not heard, or anything like that. So, but when they're in having problems in a relationship or maybe having problems in life, they don't remember it was that the father said, "Go to your room," right? Maybe remember a time they got beaten, or you're right, maybe the father left when they were 6 or something.
The bigger
small stuff, right? The small stuff.
Oh, it's chronic, little chronic misattunements over periods of time and the emotional energy that your body holds. And so brain spotting releases that emotional energy that your body's holding. You said it brilliantly. People remember those significant, but there's so much that you don't remember. And it's not even about getting down to, that's the thing that I want people to know about brain spotting and these experiential, because they're like person to person, they're relational, they're concretizing experiences, not just talking about it, right? We're moving through it. I'm bringing up an emotion for you and helping you have a corrective experience. And so it's about the feeling. It's about what it's holding in the body, as opposed to not having to get so specific. Like I have to figure out what happened to me at 6 years old in order to untangle that knot so that I can now be free. No, all I care about is what is the emotion that's coming up, because we can release that and we can reprocess that memory or emotional charge and store it into the body in a way where it's not triggering you anymore.
Well, that's amazing. So it sounds like both of these therapies that we're talking about here, the IMAGO and brain spotting, is pretty good therapies. Now, this is just for curiosity for me, why it is that people still do talk therapy. Other than I know that when you talk to someone, you feel better. Is there anything more that happens to you with talking?
Yeah, right. No, that's like a great, that's a great question.
Get the problem fixed.
Yeah. So there's, some people it works for in terms of this. If they've never had a secure attachment in their life, they've never had somebody that they've ever been able to like show all the parts of themselves, their insecurities, their fears, and all of a sudden this one person is like listening and present, and they build this trust and this rapport with that person, and they're able to sort of get out all of this stuff that's been brewing out underneath it. It's not that there's no benefit to it, but you can't name it to tame it, and you can't always process. People are like, I'll just go talk to my friends about it, or I'll go talk to whoever about it, right? So you're asking an amazing question. A lot of people still believe in that, and it is helpful to people. It's about what resonates individually. It's just that through my experience and through my own personal work, and whenever you train in any of these modalities, they make you do your own work on purpose. And so what I recognize is that there was just so much healing, and it was quicker, and the needle moved further than these talk therapies. But some people are not ready to go there. Some people, it's like, some people want fluff. Some people are like, I just need somebody to vent to once a week.
Right.
I feel
Well,
secure as a
great. What I thought that for instance, I like to talk, and whenever I'm feeling, any kind of emotion or whatever, I talk, and then I'm good, right? Because
feel
it's
good. It's
downloading.
relief. Yeah.
Right. It's called downloading. But but if I had serious issues, I just don't want to download. I want to heal. So
Yes.
yeah, you're talking about this IMAGO therapy and Brainspotting and all the other things that we were talking about today. That is beautiful that we're highlighting this and letting people know that they can go deeper other than, just talking about it. All right, so let's talk about attachment styles now. So, I have learned in my own little world.
Well, I can tell you're educated. No, you're an educated consumer. You read a lot. You're interested in people. You're interested in things. I can tell.
Right. So, I've learned. So, thank you about that. Is that and I've heard it from the negative. So maybe there's some positive. But I heard that, my husband was a police officer, and he's saying, these women I get called for these domestic violence, and the woman feels that if the boyfriend doesn't beat her up, he doesn't love her. So that kind of attachment style. So so let's talk there about how we form attachment styles, and maybe I don't know if there's different kinds, so maybe we can list them.
Sure.
And like let's say the one that I mentioned, we feel that in fact you started off by saying that love looks to us a certain way. And maybe for someone that's, messed up, they might
grew up in a chaotic environment and saw a very, very volatile relationship. That's what love looks like.
Well, exactly. So if my boyfriend doesn't beat me up, then he really doesn't love me.
Yes.
Well, so if they have that kind of attachment style, let's talk about that. Number one. And number two is, can you help them, or any kind of therapist help them to rewire that?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of neuroplasticity, right? We have the ability to rewire regardless of what we've gone through. Our body is a self-protective mechanism that has this innate ability to heal if you give it corrective, reparative experiences. And so the attachment styles are basically, there's 4, and this is universal all over the world. The basically handbook Bible is this book called Attached by Amir Levine. It goes into almost all the attachment styles. So we have securely attached, and that is about the statistics have changed, but it's about 55% of the population are securely attached. What that really means is that I am comfortable with being close with somebody and also being independent with them. I don't worry if the person that I'm in a relationship with, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, is going to leave me, or if I'm worthy of love, or if I'm good enough I'm generally well dispositioned in the fact that I believe that I, want to love, and they do love me, and I feel secure in that. I'm not worried about the other shoe dropping at any moment, and I feel generally securely attached to people. I can depend on them. They can depend on me. I'm able to give people space. I'm also able to independently function on my own. So that is the only secure attachment, securely attached. Then the insecure attachment styles, there's 3 of them. There is anxiously attached, there is avoidantly attached, and then there's fearful avoidant. And fearful avoidant is the smallest amount. It's about 5 to 6% of the population. It's called disorganized. And I'll start with that one because it's a small one. And but it's a very confusing one because you basically flip-flop between being anxious and avoidant in the relationship. So basically, let's say you and I started dating and everything's going really, really well. And then all of a sudden you're starting to get really close to me and we're getting really close. And all of a sudden it's too close. Now I'm not comfortable with the level of emotional intimacy that you and I have created because to my nervous system, that signals danger. That signals that if I get too close, I'm going to get smothered. If I get too close, you're going to leave anyway. So then I flip into being avoidant and I start pulling away from you. Even though everything's going great between us and you're like, I thought we were getting closer. Well, my nervous system signaled danger because the attachment wounds get formed in the early formative primary years. How I attach to mom and how I attach to dad or your primary caregivers sets the tone. And so what it is were they consistent with me? Were they available to, meet my physical, emotional needs? Or were they inconsistent? Were they sometimes there, sometimes not there? Were they a source of both comfort and terror? Usually people who experience a lot of abuse or sexual abuse or have, primary caregivers that are sources of both terror and comfort usually end up fearful avoidant. They're afraid so they flip-flop between so the very thing they crave and desire, the emotional intimacy, is the very thing that also scares them. So they get close with you, they pull away. They get close with you. If you pull away and you match their energy, they get anxious. Then their fear of abandonment kicks in. So it's this constant flip-flop, right? So that's that fearful avoidant attachment style. Anxiously attached is they never feel like they have to earn love. They feel that at any point, you can leave me, Myrna, like at any point, even if things are going good with us, you're probably going to abandon me. Or if you really get to truly know me, I'm afraid you're not going to love me as much as I love you. And so I'm always looking for the other shoe to drop. I'm always worried about feeling abandoned. If I notice that your texting style changes with me, or I notice that you're a little distant, or I notice that you're not paying as much attention to me, and the cadence of the rhythm of our relationship shifts even ever so slightly, I'm hyper vigilant and hyper attuned to you. And I'm like, are we okay, Myrna? Like, are you sure? Like, are we still close? I'm very worried about that, right? Because I was emotionally abandoned or my primary caregivers weren't there for me consistently enough that I had to be hypervigilant. And hypervigilant is what's called neuroception. And what that means in nerd speak is that it's this internal surveillance system it's basically detection without awareness. It's not about perception. It's a feeling of I'm always on guard and I'm searching, is it safe or not safe? Is our relationship safe or not safe, Myrna? Are you in? Are you out? Are you going to leave me? So I'm constantly worried about the other shoe dropping and I'm very anxious and I need a lot of reassurance and I need a lot of validation and I need to know that, you're not going anywhere. And through that, and all of these insecure attachment styles is to work towards becoming more secure attachment. And that's all the work that I do with people. And then the other one is avoidantly attached. And avoidantly attached is, I don't know. So we have like 50 something % of the world is secure. 5% is about fear, is fearful avoidant, 5 to 6% avoidantly attached. Let's split those up right now. And it's like half and half, right? And so whatever's the remainder, 20 and 20% of the population. And so the avoidantly attached people are interesting because they crave closeness, want intimacy, and are capable of it in the beginning. But there's an emotional threshold of intimacy that gets reached. When you get too close to me, I'm going to pull away. I'm going to withdraw. And it feels very, very dismissive, and it feels very confusing to the other person. I thought everything was going good. What's going on? It's because they are not comfortable. Their trigger is too much closeness, because in their formative childhood years, when they were close with somebody, they didn't get their needs met. They abandoned them. They left them on their own. And you know what they said to themselves? You can't depend on anybody. And you can't depend on anybody. And so I better take care of myself. And another hallmark, like marker of an avoidant, is they're hyper independent.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, wow. As you were going through them, that last one sounds like men. The one that's 5% sounds like women. So do you find that a lot of these are like gender related more than the others? Because men normally, trust me, especially in the Black community, I don't know about otherwise, but when you get too close to them, they're like want to push you away.
Totally.
Smotheringly. You're too needy.
Yeah. Too needy.
And they pull away.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's interesting. So none of those were the ones that I thought is an attachment style when you're attached to people that abuse you.
That comes to, we always are going to choose familiarity over safety. So your nervous system will be attracted to and drawn to familiar. So if your father
heard of any of the four that you mentioned, or
it's not an attachment style. It's more about that you are basically trying to heal your childhood wounds. The best way I could sum it is to get somebody who's not good to you to finally be good to you. So you get in that relationship that maybe that if that person that hits you or is physically abusive to you that you were drawn to finally will stop hitting you, it will heal the childhood wound of your father doing that to you.
That's interesting.
It will heal the child. It's all subconscious. It's all subconscious. Wow. So that's the predictor of that kind of childhood trauma, is to get a difficult person, whether that be abusive or toxic or unhealthy, to be good to you. So I need to perform to get love, or maybe if he or she stops hitting me, I will finally feel like I have completed that. It's called a childhood loop. I'll have completed that. So we will always pick familiarity over safety. So if I'm used to chaos and I was physically abused and I witnessed chaotic relationships, primarily with my mom and dad, I will be drawn to and attracted to men that represent that. Here's the other interesting thing. You don't necessarily know right off the bat that someone is going to beat the crap out of you. You don't necessarily right off the bat know if they're abusive or not, right? Because people put on a good show and they try to put their best behavior forward. But what happens is
you pick them because it's your aura. What do you say?
It's called mirror neurons. Your body is sensing certain cues from that person that's very, very familiar. And so we will always pick familiar, and then we'll call it fate. But it's not fate.
Or
it's
love.
Or love, right? It's like, no, what you're drawn to because it's what you're familiar with. And your body considers familiar safe, ironically.
Yes. Wow. So that's good. Wow. We're getting a lesson here, Esin. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So now that's attachment style. So let's talk about attachment wounds, which is basically our main topic today.
Yeah.
So, did we touch on that already? Because it seems like
we did. We did. And the attachment wounding is really just any of the wounding that occurred in a relationship with someone. So what kind of wounding happened with you and mom? What kind of wounding happened with you and dad? If they weren't there for you, did they hit you? Was there physical violence? Was there, and these are attachment wounds in a relationship. And so the attachment wounding can also happen in adulthood, like we talked about, right? Infidelity, betrayal. And so we're just like collecting these wounds, and they're becoming embedded trauma inside of us. And so the attachment wounding is what creates your attachment style. Everybody has an attachment style, meaning And also, you don't fit neatly into a box, but it does shift, meaning you could be more securely attached with friends, but anxiously attached in romantic relationships,
Mm-hmm.
or vice
You're
versa.
not worried about friends leaving you. Who cares?
But there's friends who are very anxiously attached with friends, but very securely attached in romantic relationships.
Oh, really?
Because their attachment wounds and their attachment injuries were friends abandoning them, or relationships going sour, or never feeling like they fit in, or never really having friends, or people never really accepting them. And so that's where that comes in, right? So all of that dictates how I behave, how I feel, and how my nervous system is going to react to connection. It's all about connection. Attachment wounding directs connection.
Right, right. So how does that translate into mental health? Like you talk about anxiety, depression, addiction, codependency, dysfunctional
Oh my God, yeah.
system dynamics.
Yeah.
So those are all the mental health. So give us a scenario where I am anxiously attached and it affects my mental health. I think I know the answer to that already.
Yeah.
Because I got anxiety.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be constantly, if you're anxiously attached, you're going to be constantly worrying. You're going to be constantly hypervigilant. You're worried about being a big. So all of a sudden now my nervous system is completely dysregulated and I'm experiencing anxious symptoms, and my nervous system, I'm in the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is fight, flight, freeze, fawn. My amygdala, which is the fear center, gets hijacked. Emotion, logic, reason out the window. I'm just like, I don't want to get abandoned. I'm so anxious. I want you to make me feel better. You need to connect with me again, because without you, I feel like I don't have my bearings. Like, so I need the other person to soothe me. I need them to come back into connection with me to soothe me. So now anxiety, and then the anxiety can turn into panic attacks. You stay dysregulated long enough, you stay anxious long enough in a relationship, you will start to get panic attacks. You get panic attacks long enough and you stay in this dysregulated state, you will get depressed. Your body is a self-protective mechanism. After a certain period of staying in that sympathetic arousal, anxious state, your body goes, alarm bell, warning, we need to shut down, operation shutdown. And it starts to literally depress all of your organs and your hormones, because the cortisol and adrenaline that shoots out when you get anxious and you're worried all the time about the state of the union of this relationship or situation, your body then depresses everything. So because you can actually get chronically ill if you stay in a sympathetic state. So in order to protect you, it shuts you down, and then you get depressed.
Right.
So I always say they're friends. I always say they're kind of best friends. Anxiety and depression are best friends. They usually can go hand in hand. You stay anxious and dysregulated long enough, and you stay in that sympathetic, you're going to get depressed.
Yeah. So one of the questions I had here is, so how, which leads right into this, is like, how does a healthy brain oscillate between sympathetic and parasympathetic states to maintain equilibrium?
Yeah.
So in the securely attached relationships where, you're not really worried if a person leave, if they leave, but you're securely attached.
Yeah.
How is your brain maintaining equilibrium there?
So there's again, nerd speak, there's a corpus callosum in the middle of your brain, and it's a branch that separates your right and left hemispheres, right? And so it's the vacillation between the right and left. The left brain is logical, pragmatic. It's able to reason. The right side is birthplace of creativity, emotion, and then there's a prefrontal cortex in the front, which is basically the emotional regulator, and it regulates you. And so when you're anxious and you're all right brain, which is all emotion and feelings and blah, 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 the prefrontal cortex goes offline. So that's like your emotional regulator, like they're off the reservation. That's saying that you're it's like the emotionally regulated tool that regulates you is offline. So a healthy brain vacillates between right and left, or organically, and engages in activities that strengthen that. So what I mean by that is parasympathetic activities. So parasympathetic activities would be, what do I do that puts my body into a state of being more calm, more regulated, like, meditation, yoga, doing an experiential modality with my therapist, walking in nature, co-regulating with a friend, talking it out, being in hiking, going to the beach, cold plunge. I'm a big fan of cold plunge. Your dopamine literally goes up 350% and your norepinephrine goes up 250%. And all that means is you become more regulated, you become more calm. And so the more parasympathetic activities that you do and that you engage in, the more regulated your nervous system is. And the more that securely attached person oscillates between right and left and has a smoother transition and doesn't get stuck like a broken record on something. So the more parasympathetic, this is for everybody, no matter who you are, the more parasympathetic activities that you do and engage in, even music. What kind of music do you like? What brings you joy? That's parasympathetic. What brings you joy? What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel passionate? What makes you feel connected? What makes you feel, all of these things are, so parasympathetic stands for rest and digest. It's kind of, that feeling right when you're about to go to sleep and you're like feeling calm and you ate a good meal and you're watching
The alpha brainwaves.
Exactly. The alpha.
They do a lot of parasympathetic work. I walk every day in the park.
Yeah. There you go.
Walking meditation. I do lay meditation. I read books. And this is therapeutic, having good conversations.
Yeah, I love engaging with you. And so what happens is that even with me engaging with you right now, different neurons are firing out and creating rewiring in my brain, connecting with you and learning from you, and seeing a woman so interested in all of these things and being so curious and sharing your life and your, it's lighting up a part of my brain that's curious and that is engaged, and that, because I'm curious like you. I like to know about people. I like to know about things. I like to know about, why do they do that? Why does that person do that? Or what's going on over there? But you already have that, right? And that's the other thing. Reading a book is a parasympathetic activity.
Yes. So,
What else?
girl.
Yeah. Good for, and you know what I call books? I call books invisible counsel.
Yes. I love that.
And
trust me, it has helped me with my connection issues too, because I stay calm. Right.
Yeah. No, you stay more regulated.
I stay more regulated. Yes.
You essentially are like a model for like what I would try to teach my clients of like a life that's lived with many parasympathetic activities included in it.
Yes. I lit up. So that's amazing. All right. Well, I keep saying your name wrong, so I'm not going to say it again.
I'm going to say it, ready? Esin.
Right. Yes. I listen, I learned from you from the starting bell, when you were giving content, you were sharing with us. So this is amazing. So tell our listeners now about your business, Eternal Wellness Counseling.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're pretty good. So tell our listeners how they could connect with you, what your website is, your social media. I think we're already connected on social media. So tell our listeners where they can connect with you and where they can get involved in this IMAGO.
They're at it. IMAGO, Brainspotting, IFS, whatever. And it's I'm very person-centered, meaning like just because these are great modalities, they might not be the right fit for people, right? So I work with a collaborative approach with people. So eternalwellnesscounseling.com is my website. And so I have both a psychotherapy company and a coaching company. So I see people all over the world. And there's a submission in there if you want. I always do free consultations if anyone ever wants to work with me, because I believe that you got to have a good fit. It's very, very important. It's very much a screening tool to see. And I often refer people out. I'm like, I have somebody that I think would be a much better fit for you, and I think people love that because I want you to work with somebody that's going to be helpful. And then on social media, I always get this wrong, but my social media handle, where I consider is a love letter to people, by educating them, for people who don't have, maybe might not be able to have the resources to go to therapy or whatever. I try to provide enough information on there. I have a lot of workbooks coming up that I'm going to give out for free, like an instructional manual of people, so how they can work through some exercises somatically, do some gaze spotting and brain spotting on their own and things like that. So it's Esin. So it's Esin, Esin Pinarli, Pinarli _LCSW. And that's my Instagram account. And that's what I consider my love letter to sort of just continue to, I'm working on all these like things to just offer people that might not have the resources. Maybe plant a seed or something resonates with somebody that gives them, oh, I want to work on that, or that really helped me. And like, I always want to be able to offer that.
That's amazing. Yes, listen, you do good work. Now,
Thank you.
again, I'm glad you said I come from a curiosity space, but I do. So, a lot of insurance now are paying for therapy. Do you accept insurance?
I don't take insurance, but I do what's called a super bill. And so what it is I have, basically, I'm an out of network provider, and I am actually in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I don't take the insurance, which is confusing. But what happens is people submit it, and I have to say, which makes me so happy, I've not had one client not get rearimbursed.
That's beautiful. You see,
So they
that's
you know,
curiosity.
yes, and
Yeah,
so
because when I was doing my talk therapy, it didn't help me, which is why I was able to zoom in on what you do.
yeah.
But yeah, my insurance was paying. I just had to pay copay, and that
And I fight with the insurance. Like, I'll get on if they try to like reject it. I'll go in. I'll get on the phone call with them. I will, do an appeal, and I have a. So that makes me really happy, because I'm really conscious of people's money, time, energy, and I want to be able to do that. So I will get on the phone with the insurance companies, and I have to say that I'm very, very lucky and blessed that almost everybody has gotten compensated back.
Good job. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So you heard that, guys. There's no excuse. Yes. What Esin highlighted today was a lot of things that we were not aware of, right? We know that we're not functioning at our highest level because we feel bad, right? Because
Yeah.
your feeling is letting you know that you feel bad. That's our modality, our feedback mechanism. So when you go to therapy, yes, you can talk about it and you feel better for maybe a few hours or something, but then you're really not,
Getting to the root of it.
right,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Excavating it,
Right, exactly.
releasing it. Yeah.
Right. So, this is an excellent, excellent way to start working on yourself. And like Eason said, if you follow her on social media, then she's got a lot of free resources. But definitely connect with her. I will have a summary of my conversation with Eason on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to our website, link out to our social media handles, so you can just go on there if you miss anything here, and click on it and connect with her. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Again, this is like life school, not only for my listeners, but for me. And I learned a lot about how we come into a relationship,
Yeah.
right? So that was great for me. And
Yeah.
again, I was never aware of the attachment styles that you mentioned. I was talking when I talk about attachment styles, I was going for familiarity, because you're right. A woman, I can only talk about women. A woman would be, they're saying, I'm attracted to the bad boy. I like bad boys, right? And what does bad boys do? Treat them like shit, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
But that's what attracts them, right? And
Yeah.
that's because they're familiar. Yeah. So this was great. Awareness is the first step in change.
Oh,
So,
that's the best, that right there. Awareness is the first step. And that is amazing. And that brings you so many different places. Awareness.
yes.
Awareness and curiosity. And curiosity is and compassion.
Right. Yes.
Compassion for yourself.
Yes. So right. So we brought the awareness to our listeners about, the depth of how they can help themselves. So
Yes.
I am very grateful for our conversation.
Thanks.
It was great. I learned a lot. And I'm gonna check because I'm already connected to you on Instagram.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna check for your free resources.
Yes.
Can help
Yeah,
me.
a lot of them are coming up. If you go on my website, there's one available on my website if you like put your information in, and then there's like 2 more coming out in the next 2 months. And it's very I try to make it a little bit more digestible in terms of here are the actual tools and the somatic principles that you can incorporate into your life, that you can create more regulation in your nervous system, whether you're feeling anxious, whether you're depressed, whether you just don't feel the best version of yourself, whether you feel burned out, whether you feel whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So we are fresh out of time. So as we wrap up, any last words?
No, just thank you so much for having me on. I hope I was of service and that your listeners resonated. And I loved having a conversation. I love talking. So I love connecting with different people. And I love that we have this opportunity to have a conversation and to connect. And you're so lovely and engaging and just your curiosity. I think I could just feel your curiosity.
Yes. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was a great conversation. And I'm coming out ahead of where I came in. So listen, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so you can transform your life. Today we're talking about attachment styles, attachment wounds, and I hope that you got a lot out of this conversation because I did. So thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste. Love it. I'm a yogi too.